Hi Cadets! My name is Miranda Nieto and I am a Girl Experience Manager with the Girl Scouts of NYPENN Pathways. Today I'm going to be working on the Cadettes New Cuisines Badge with you. We will be doing steps 1 and 2. For this badge, before we get started, I want to make sure that you're remembering your knife safety. So when I say that, I mean to be sure that you're not cutting near your fingers and make sure that you're cutting away from your body, not towards your body. Make sure that you have an adult in the kitchen with you if possible. This is a really good recipe because you don't need to cut anything up too small. You're able to put some large chunks into the food processor and it'll do that for you. But make sure that you have an adult nearby and make sure that you're being safe with your knives. And then for the second part, for step 2, we are going to be using the oven. So again, make sure that you're using proper oven safety and that you're using oven mitts like these to keep yourself from getting burned. Okay? So this badge is about exploring your palate and taste and different culture. So I chose for this to highlight the Southwest region. And I am going to be doing some salsa for step 1, which step 1 is making a dish from another country. For step 2, we are discovering a dish from another region, and for that one, I'm going to do the Tex-Mex nachos. So for step 1, I chose to do salsa, and I'll be sure to give you the recipe in the comments so you can have it and you can recreate this at home. But I'm going to go over what I do to prepare when I'm cooking in the kitchen. So this is something easy that you can make as an appetizer for your family, for your friends. And most of the time we have most of this stuff in the kitchen. So I'm going to go over my ingredient list with you. I have onions. I have some jalapenos. 1 jalapeno, a half an onion. I have salt and pepper. I have some garlic salt. I have a teaspoon of sugar. I have some cumin, fresh garlic, a half a lime, and I have a whole can of whole peeled tomatoes. That's going to be really important that you have that. So those are the ingredients for the salsa. Now, because I have a very small food processor, I'm only going to do half my ingredients. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put half of my onion in here because I'm going to end up making 2 batches. If you have a bigger one at home that you can use, then feel free to go ahead and dump everything in there. So I just added half my onion. I added half of my jalapeno, half of my garlic, a couple sprinkles of some of that garlic salt, and I'm going to add half of my tomatoes, and my little food processor does exactly a half batch because I tested this recipe at home before. So this is a family favorite with me and my kids, so I figured that I would pass it on here. Little cumin, and then I always do a dash of pepper and a dash of salt. So those are all my ingredients there. So now I'm going to put the top of my food processor on, and I'm going to start pulsing it. Once I've gotten it very fine, the way that I want it, it'll be all set. Okay. So I finished my salsa. It's all set in here. It's all ready, fresh. And that is how you complete step 1. So for step 1, we created salsa. One thing that I find very helpful when I'm cooking in the kitchen and for you when you're doing these steps is gather your ingredients ahead of time. So earlier today I made sure that I put all my ingredients out on the counter. You can even pre-dice or pre-slice them. Make sure that you do that with your adult nearby. And then you're all ready to start your recipe and you're all prepared. So that's salsa. Now for step 2, I've preheated my oven to 350. And for this one, we're going to discover a dish from another region. So as part of this step, it would be up to you to explore and think about a different region. If you don't want to do Texas or, Tex-Mex food, you can always explore any other region that you're comfortable with. So for this one, what I had to do was I had to use Google a lot to figure out what are Tex-Mex nachos? How are they different than the nachos that we eat? Here in New York State, a lot of times when you get nachos, you have your nacho chips and then they kind of just dump everything on top. Well, when I started doing my research about the nachos that are in the other regions, the Tex-Mex nachos, they actually spread out all of the chips on a plate and they individually top each one. So every single chip has the perfect amount of ingredients. So I thought, oh my gosh, that's really cool. I'm gonna try that one. So I found a recipe that looked pretty easy. And for this recipe, you just had to get a cookie sheet or a casserole dish. You had to lay out your big tortilla chips. You put a spoon of refried beans, a sprinkle of cheese, and a pickled jalapeno on top. You bake them in the oven on 350 for 8 minutes. When they come out, I made some for you to see. When they come out, they look just like this. Super, super yummy. And you can have stuff prepared ahead of time. So for example, you could have sour cream, the salsa that you just made in step 1, guacamole, olives, anything that you would like. So for example, I have some olives here, so maybe I want to add some olives to make them a little different, okay? So it's really up to you what you want to do. So for this step, I have a cookie sheet here with the plain chips. And then I am going to get my refried beans, which you can get at any store. And I smooth it out onto my tortilla chip. And then you can get some cheese. I have some sharp cheddar here that's already shredded. So I'm gonna put some cheese on that. And then some jalapenos. Now remember, when you're working with jalapenos, especially if you don't like spicy food, you don't really want to touch them because when you do touch them, they get on your fingers. If you touch your eyes, your mouth, your nose, it'll burn really bad. So I'm just using the tip of my knife. I have my nacho with my beans and my cheese. Put my jalapeno on top. Once I've created the whole cookie sheet full of those, I put them in the oven for 8 minutes. And when I'm done, they'll come out just like these ones here that I had showed you previously. So that's for step 1 and that's for step 2. I will be doing step 3 and step 4 next Tuesday at 4 o'clock. So I hope that you'll join me for those steps. And for those steps, we're going to be making guacamole, and we're going to be doing, for step 4, we're going to be doing a raw food feast. So if you follow along with me, you'll learn how to make salsa, you'll learn how to make nachos, you'll learn how to make guacamole. And then for my raw food feast, it'll be a bunch of little finger foods and stuff for like an appetizer or even a dessert if you use fruit. So when you're all done, you should be able to do step 5, where you end up making an entire meal for your family and host a new Cuisines cooking party. It'd be super fun. Thanks for joining me today, and thank you for completing step 1 and 2. I'll be sure to put my recipes in the comments for you so you have them. Thanks again, girls. See you Tuesday.